Ever feel like, your emotions are just all tangled up, impossible to, like, sort out?
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah, definitely.
In this deep dive, we're going to be going beyond just basic, happy, sad,
Mm-hmm.
to uncover a whole spectrum of feelings you might not even know you have.
Yeah.
We've got some fascinating research here
Okay.
that suggests that emotional intelligence starts with actually being able to identify
Right.
and express your emotions effectively.
Mhm.
And get this,
Okay.
understanding these skills can lead to better decisions, stronger relationships,
Wow.
and a much deeper understanding of ourselves.
That's true. For so long, emotions were seen as this like fluffy thing,
Right.
totally separate from intelligence.
Yeah.
But the truth is, understanding our emotions is a form of intelligence in itself.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
What makes recognizing our emotions so crucial?
Well, think of it this way. Emotions influence our choices more than we realize.
Right.
It's like we're driving a car, but the steering wheel is controlled by these unseen forces. Our emotions,
I see where you're going with this.
if we're not aware of them, they can lead us down paths we didn't intend to take,
Right.
maybe resulting in impulsive decisions or unhealthy coping mechanisms.
So if we can identify those emotions, we can finally take control of the wheel
Exactly.
and steer ourselves in a better direction.
Yes.
I like that analogy.
Recognizing our emotions helps us make conscious decisions rather than letting those feelings drive us unconsciously.
Yeah.
The research also highlights how understanding our own emotions makes us more empathetic.
Okay.
It's like learning a new language
Right.
that allows us to better understand and connect with others.
That makes a lot of sense. There's actually a really powerful story in this research
Oh, really?
about someone who thought they were just generally unhappy for years. It turned out they were feeling deeply unfulfilled in their career.
Wow.
Once they were able to name that emotion and pinpoint where it was coming from,
Yeah.
they made changes
Okay.
and found a career path that brought them real joy.
That's a perfect illustration of how powerful it can be to simply acknowledge our emotions. They can actually be catalysts for positive change in our lives.
So recognizing our emotions is important, but it's not always easy.
Right.
What are some of the challenges people face when trying to understand their own feelings?
One of the biggest hurdles is that we often experience multiple emotions at once. Think about that nervous excitement you feel before a big presentation.
Yeah.
It's not just one thing, right? It can be tough to untangle those complex feelings and figure out what's driving each one.
That's a good point. Sometimes it feels impossible to find the right words to describe what's going on inside. Like, is this frustration or disappointment?
Right.
Or maybe a little bit of both.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another challenge this research points to is how we're conditioned to respond to certain emotions.
Okay.
We might suppress feelings because of societal or personal norms.
Right.
Maybe we learned that expressing anger is bad, so we try to bury it instead of understanding what's causing it.
I think a lot of us learn to mask certain emotions without even realizing it.
Yeah.
So have you ever felt confused by your own emotions? Like you couldn't quite put your finger on what you were feeling or why?
Totally.
That's where having tools to identify your emotions can be incredibly valuable.
Absolutely.
And luckily, this research offers some practical ones.
It does. One of the most interesting concepts is emotional granularity.
Okay.
It's this idea that we need to move beyond basic labels like happy, sad, or angry and develop a more nuanced emotional vocabulary.
So instead of just saying, I feel bad,
Right.
you might say, I feel resentful or I feel disappointed.
Exactly.
That paints a much clearer picture of what's going on inside.
Precisely. The research actually suggests using an emotion wheel.
Oh, okay.
It's a visual tool that maps out a whole spectrum of emotions.
Yeah.
Kind of like a color wheel for your feelings.
Okay.
It can be really helpful in pinpointing exactly what you're experiencing.
I've seen those. It's amazing how many different shades of emotion there are.
Yeah.
You might even discover names for feelings you've had you never knew how to describe.
Exactly. The research also emphasizes paying attention to body cues.
Okay.
We tend to dismiss physical sensations,
Right.
but they can be really valuable clues to our emotional state.
Interesting.
A racing heart might indicate anxiety, while a tight chest could signal sadness.
That's so interesting. So it's not just about naming the emotion, but also noticing how it feels in your body.
Yes. Tuning in to those physical sensations helps us connect with our emotions on a deeper level.
Yeah.
This research also suggests practicing mindfulness and journaling.
I'm all about journaling.
Oh, yeah.
The research even includes a specific journaling prompt I love.
Okay.
Write down 3 emotions you felt today and what triggered them. Imagine taking just 5 minutes before bed to reflect on your day and jot down those feelings.
Yeah.
How did they feel in your body?
Yeah.
What caused them?
Right.
You might be surprised by what you uncover.
It's remarkable how much we can learn from simply pausing to acknowledge those subtle shifts in our emotional landscape.
Absolutely. It's like tuning into your own internal weather report. But recognizing our emotions is only part of the equation.
Right.
Expressing them effectively is a whole other challenge.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to those tricky conversations or intense feelings.
Right.
And that's what we'll be exploring in part 2.
You're right. Expressing our emotions, especially the tough ones, can feel like navigating a minefield.
Yeah.
But this research provides some really helpful guidance on how to do it effectively.
Okay.
One of the most powerful techniques is using I feel statements.
Okay.
They're like magic words for clear communication.
Okay, I'm listening.
Oh, wait.
What's so special about I feel statements?
Well, they allow you to express your feelings without blaming the other person.
Okay.
For example, instead of saying, you're always late,
Right.
you could try, I feel anxious when we're running behind schedule.
Ah, I see the difference. The first one sounds accusatory, while the second one simply states how you feel and what triggered that feeling.
Yeah.
It's less likely to make the other person defensive.
Exactly. I feel statements create a space for open and honest conversation.
Yeah.
You're inviting the other person to understand your perspective without pointing fingers. The research also points out that it's not just about the words we use, but how we express them.
Right.
Our tone of voice and body language have a big impact on how our message comes across.
I can definitely see. I mean, if I'm just mildly annoyed about something, I wouldn't want to sound like I'm furious.
Yeah.
It's about finding the right intensity for the situation, right?
You got it. The research calls this matching intensity.
Okay.
It's about aligning your tone and body language with the actual intensity of the emotion. So a calm and assertive tone works well for expressing disappointment.
Okay.
While a more direct tone might be necessary if you're feeling angry or threatened, it's all about finding that sweet spot between being authentic and respectful.
That makes a lot of sense. Think about those times when you've witnessed someone overreacting to a minor issue. It can be hard to take them seriously, right?
Totally.
But if they express themselves calmly and assertively, their message is more likely to be heard.
Absolutely. It's about choosing your battles. Now, this research also offers some really helpful tips for expressing emotions during conflicts, which, let's face it, can be one of the trickiest communications situations.
Oh, conflicts are definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
How can we express ourselves during a disagreement without it turning into a shouting match?
One strategy the research suggests is to reframe criticism as a request for change.
Okay.
Instead of saying, you never listen to me, try saying, I feel unheard when I share my thoughts. Could we try to make more space for each other to talk? It shifts the focus from blame to finding a solution together.
That's a great tip. It reminds me of an example from the research about someone who felt unappreciated at work. Instead of complaining that nobody acknowledged their contributions, they learned to say, I feel really valued when my work is acknowledged. Would it be possible to get more feedback on projects going forward?
Yeah.
It's so much more constructive.
Exactly. You're focusing on what you want to happen instead of dwelling on the problem. But sometimes words just aren't enough to express the complexity of what we're feeling.
Yeah.
And that's where the research highlights the power of creative outlets.
I love that idea. Sometimes you just need to paint, write, dance, or even just go for a run to process those intense emotions. What are some of your favorite ways to express emotions without words?
Personally, I find music incredibly therapeutic.
Yeah.
Whether I'm playing guitar, listening to my favorite albums, or just singing along in the car, music allows me to tap into my emotions and process them in a way that words sometimes can't.
Music is definitely powerful. It's like having a soundtrack for your emotions. And think about physical activity. Going for a run or hitting the gym could be such a great way to release pent-up anger or frustration.
Absolutely. You're literally moving that energy out of your body. It's fascinating how we each have our own unique ways of expressing ourselves.
Right.
Some people are natural talkers, while others prefer creative outlets or physical activity.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I think the important thing is to find what feels authentic and helpful for you. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to expressing emotions. What works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly. The key is to find what resonates with you. And remember, expressing emotions effectively is a skill.
Right.
Just like learning a new language or instrument.
Yeah.
It takes practice, but with time, it becomes more natural.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Think about how you typically express your emotions. Do you tend to talk things out, Write them down, maybe move your body or create something.
Mm-hmm.
There's no right or wrong answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about becoming more aware of your natural tendencies.
You're spot on. Self-awareness is key. By understanding our own patterns, we can refine those skills and even explore new ways of expressing ourselves that might be even more effective. After all, the more tools we have in our emotional toolkit, the better equipped we are to navigate the ups and downs of life.
It's amazing to think that something as simple as expanding our emotional vocabulary
Right.
or learning to use I feel statements
Mm-hmm.
can have such a profound impact on our communication and relationships.
It really is transformative. And what's so exciting is that these are skills anyone can develop. This research isn't just about understanding emotions in a theoretical sense.
Right.
It's about giving you practical tools to apply in your everyday life.
Exactly. It's like we've been given a whole new set of tools to navigate the ups and downs of our emotional lives. We don't have to feel overwhelmed or controlled by our feelings anymore. We can learn to identify them, understand their messages, and express them in a healthy way.
That's the key. Moving from a place of reactivity to a place of empowerment. And remember, building emotional intelligence is a journey, not a destination. It's about making those small daily choices to pay attention to our feelings, expand our emotional vocabulary, and practice expressing ourselves authentically.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the fascinating world of emotions, let me ask you this. What's one small step you could take this week to boost your own emotional intelligence? Maybe it's trying out an I feel statement during a challenging conversation, taking a few minutes each day to journal about your emotions, or exploring a new creative outlet. Even the smallest actions can create a ripple effect.
Absolutely. And remember, be patient with yourself. Building emotional intelligence takes time and practice, but trust me, the rewards are well worth the effort.
Couldn't agree more. So until next time, keep exploring those incredible inner landscapes. You might be amazed by what you discover about yourself and the power of your own emotions.